People in Seattle love their coffee. The aromatic, caffeinated treat runs through the veins of everyone in Seattle, and there's little question as to why. The addictive beverage has become the lifeblood of Seattleites ever since small companies like Starbucks and Tully's joined the scene. With a bit of luck, business prowess, and passion, Starbucks continue to grow, spreading their love for good coffee all over the world. Currently, Starbucks is 182,000 employees strong, with almost 20,000 locations worldwide in 62 countries. This equates to 36.7% of the total market share of the coffee industry, with second-place Dunkin' brands far behind at a paltry 24.6%.
Back home, Seattle houses about 35 coffee shops per 100,000 residents, with the U District alone having about 12 independently owned coffee shops. Where does Starbucks fit into all of this? With only 2 on the Ave, 1 true Starbucks on campus, and 4 in U Village, you think students would choose their preferred brew based on cost, location, and taste. However, Starbucks' hold on the market makes it seem like they're the only coffee shop around. I bet there are even a few people listening who are enjoying some Starbucks right now.
We're here to find out why Starbucks is dominating the market and why people prefer to go to them over other coffee shops in the area. We think it could be because of the consistency of the brand and its status among consumers. According to Podolny, the concept of status invokes the imagery of a hierarchy of positions, a pecking order, in which an individual's location within that hierarchy shapes others' expectations and actions toward the individual, and thereby determines the opportunities and constraints that the individual confronts. Starbucks has situated themselves among the top positions in the coffee shop hierarchy by creating a well-known, likable brand and by keeping a high status.
They have been able to expand their brand and find success in other markets, such as selling their coffee products at grocery stores. Starbucks has also partnered with other high-status companies such as Swell and Lilly Pulitzer to create water bottles and other drink accessories. Their position near the top of the hierarchy has presented them with these opportunities, and the success that they have found in other markets reinforces their high status.
We spoke with a couple Starbucks baristas, and here's some clips of the information we gathered. Hi Sabrina, thank you so much for meeting with me. So can you just introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about why you started at Starbucks and what location you're at?
So I've worked at Starbucks for about 2 years. I transferred to a store in Renton, a much busier store in Renton, about a year ago. I started working at Starbucks because there are so many by where I live in Covington, and it was just a very easy place to work, and it seemed, like a very good fast-paced job, and that's just the kind of work I prefer, is fast-paced, changing. I can't do the same routine thing every day, so getting to talk to different people all the time is very nice for me.
Definitely. So one thing that we've been noticing is that on the Ave and the U District, and just in general, there's lots of other local coffee shops, and some that even people would say they prefer the coffee over, but a lot of people still choose Starbucks. Why do you think that is, from your perspective as an employee?
Honestly, I wonder the same thing very frequently, and I would assume it's just because you know what you're going to get. You know what I mean? With a new coffee shop, you don't know exactly how it's going to taste, and it's not as fast a lot of the time. Starbucks is very much about,
Right.
It sounds really terrible, but get people in and out, you
Yes.
know what I mean? It's about efficiency, too. So we do value customer connections and everything, but also about getting people in and out and valuing their time.
Got it.
So I don't know if smaller shops think with that same mindset of efficiency.
And so would you say yourself, do you enjoy Starbucks coffee? Like, do you think that you would prefer it over other shops?
I mean, I drink, black coffee. That's just, it's what I drink, so it's pretty much the same anywhere I go.
Yeah.
It's just as good as any other coffee, honestly.
What do you think is Starbucks' biggest competitor?
I don't know if, coffee shop-wise, I don't see any huge competitors other than maybe Tully's, but that's, I don't even know if Tully's is local or if either, fast food is kind of a big competitor. One. Yeah.
And then what would you say is the most popular item on the menu, and why do you think that is?
Probably Frappuccinos, honestly. Crazy popular, and they're awful to make, and I hate they're very time-consuming to make, but it's just, kids love them because they're little milkshake things,
That is probably something, too, that, other coffee shops wouldn't necessarily make. It's kind of a Starbucks staple
Yeah.
or personal. Well, thank you so much. I think that's all I've got for you.
Of course. Thank you.
Of course.
We then spoke to Tanya, a University of Washington student as well as Starbucks barista, to also get her opinions on Starbucks and the coffee market in the University District.
How long have you been working at Starbucks?
For about a year.
Why did you choose to work at Starbucks?
So I used to work at the Starbucks near my house in Bellevue, but when I moved over to U District for college, I wanted to keep the same job, so they let me transfer over to the U Village Starbucks location.
Why do you think consumers choose to purchase Starbucks products opposed to local coffee?
Because they have great products, and most customers are very loyal customers that return frequently because they do love the product and it never disappoints.
Do you like Starbucks coffee more than a local coffee shop?
I actually do. There are a lot of variety to choose from and a lot of different roasts.
Who do you think is Starbucks' biggest competitor?
I'm not sure, but I think it's Dunkin' Donuts.
And then finally, what is the most popular item on the menu and why do you think that is?
The most I see get ordered is drip coffee and different kinds of lattes, and I think these are probably because they're the less expensive products on the menu and also the most basic low-calorie ones that people love.
Okay, great. Thank you.
One thing that stood out from my interview with Sabrina was that she thought that the reason that Starbucks was so successful was because people knew what they were going to get every time, and they weren't scared or unsure of the quality of coffee they were going to get because of how consistent Starbucks is. And I think that relates a lot to Podolny's status reading in the reputation piece of that. When people are unsure of the quality, they usually turn to status and reputation, which Starbucks has a lot of.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that in my interview with Tanya, she touched a lot on kind of the comfort level that comes with students visiting Starbucks, which is why Starbucks can have so many stores on the app and still be successful, because students can go and they can hang out and they can have a good time and they can drink their coffee and there's no unknown. And so it's really comfortable for them to keep going back and be consistent customers.
After taking a look at the coffee market from an employee perspective, we decided to get an opinion from those on the other side of the counter and hear about the market directly from the coffee consumers themselves.
I interviewed Anthony, an independent coffee enthusiast. Here are some clips from our interview. So what do you usually look for when you buy your coffee?
When I go buy coffee, I usually look mostly for a good atmosphere. But if I'm going to be meeting someone, usually I'll look for a little bit more quality in addition to the atmosphere, usually a cafe on the up.
What are your thoughts on Starbucks?
So everyone knows it's an international, global organization. They're very pointed in their marketing and very consistent is the biggest descriptor I would use. If I'm going to travel, Starbucks is going to be my go-to just because I know that they're going to have something that I'm looking for, whether or not it's a frappuccino or a latte or a mocha.
So do you feel like people on campus only go to Starbucks?
For sure. They definitely try to reel you in with their rewards program. Starbucks also has quite the culture surrounding it, especially on college campuses. You get the kind of quote-unquote classic sorority girl who wears North Face and yoga pants and goes to Starbucks always carrying a Starbucks cup. So there's a bit of stereotype surrounding it and definitely a culture that kind of surrounds it generally. Though personally, I don't mind Starbucks. I don't necessarily consider myself part of this culture.
So what would Starbucks have to do to get your business in the future?
If long-term where I'm living at, Starbucks coffee is very close to my work or my home, then that's what I'm going to get. And you can kind of see that across their model, their business model is that there are a lot of Starbucks around, so they're trying to make it as consistent as possible for you to go there.
So in the future, if you lived near a Starbucks but had the opportunity to go to an independent coffee shop, which one would you rather?
I would likely go for the independent shop, and definitely going to be looking to support small, sustainable, and local in any way possible. Those are going to be my priorities, even over cost point.
Thanks, Anthony.
Yep, have fun.
So what we learned today in this interview was that he very much recognized Starbucks' reputation, and that in fact turned him away from the whole experience. He didn't like the sorority girl mentality of Starbucks. He didn't like the culture, the company culture of Starbucks, but he realized its consistency and he acknowledged it. So that if he were ever able to travel across the world, he'd definitely go to a Starbucks, but if he had the choice, he wouldn't.
According to an article written for business2community.com, there are 3 main factors that contribute to why people tend to choose Starbucks over other coffee shops. The combination of the coffee buying experience, the feelings that are evoked when buying yourself a nice cup of coffee, and the familiarity of the brand lead people to believe that it is better than other coffee shops. As Podolny noted in Status Signals, status can leak between actors. In this case, the status of Starbucks leaks to its customers and evokes feelings that keep them coming back.
According to Forbes magazine's Trefis team, Starbucks has been doing 3 things especially well. They're able to innovate, as seen with their new Starbucks app, and they also note that they're leagues ahead of the competition when it comes to being flexible and understanding consumer preferences, especially with the growing trends of non-dairy products.
So, as you have heard, this is all the information we've gathered on Starbucks and its market and why we think it relates to Podolny's reading, and just why it's been so successful and why it probably will continue to be successful.